Go ahead and get started. First thing, I want to thank John Willie for being here today. He's taken the place of Cindy because Cindy is not feeling well, so she's out sick today. The only item we have on the agenda is to work previously heard bills, and I sent out an email last night stating that my intent was to work HB 2219 and 2068, and so I hope you're all prepared for that. I think they're pretty simple bills that we passed out last year pretty easily. Was it 2068? Yeah, I'm sorry, 2287. So with that, committee, I'm going to go ahead and open discussion on HB 2219. And we'll get an update from the revisor on what the bill does.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 2219 provides a tax credit for businesses who employ individuals with developmental disabilities in a competitive integrated setting. Competitive integrated setting means basically work paid at the customary rate, not less than minimum wage, where the employee is eligible for benefits to the same extent as other employees, interacts with non-disabled employees to the same extent as other employees, and presents similar opportunities for advancement as compared to other employees. The credit is 50% of the wages paid to the disabled individual on an hourly basis during a calendar year, up to a maximum credit of $7.50 per hour. This tax credit is not refundable, may not be carried forward. The maximum amount of all tax credits allowed in each tax year is $5 million. The bill requires the Secretary for Aging and Disability Services to develop and implement a program to measure the results of the tax credit, including decreases in reliance on state subsidies and any associated net savings to taxpayers, among other things. The Secretary for Aging and Disability Services is also to submit a written report of the Secretary's findings to the Senate and the House Commerce Committees on the first day of the 2022 through the 2026 legislative sessions. This bill has a sunset of January 1st, 2027, and would be effective if passed on July 1st of this year. And that is what the bill does.
Thank you, Charles. Committee, are there any questions for the revisor? Seeing none. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the question that I'd have, I was trying to go back and remember, there was some credit that was passed, I think, in 2018. And I wondered if there was, I think we heard some testimony about that, but I was trying to remember how this might relate to that one.
Representative Williams, I think, can weigh in on that. Representative Mason's not with us today either, but he's the one that carried that previous bill. I think he spoke on it, and they're separate items, but Representative Williams is familiar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't recall the bill number, but it did pass favorably, signed into law, and they do not interact, and it provides a credit for those businesses that purchase. So I don't know if that was a sales tax, but it was a credit to those people that were making that purchase. So it's not the employer that would receive the credit. It would be the business that purchased from the employer that had the disabled workers.
Any other questions for the revisor? Okay, seeing none, with a motion on HB 2219, Representative Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we pass HB 2219 out of committee, favorable for passage.
I get a second, seconded by Representative Hoffman. Any discussion or questions on HB 2219? Any amendments? Seeing none, Representative, you can close.
I close.
Committee, you've heard the motion to pass out favorably HB 2219, seconded by Representative Hoffman. All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. Motion passes. Draw your attention to HB 2287, and we'll have a discussion with the reviser on what the bill does.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 2287 enacts the Kansas Promise Scholarship Act. This would establish the Kansas Promise Scholarship Program administered by the State Board of Regents. This program would, subject to appropriations, provide scholarships to eligible students for up to 2 years to attend eligible post-secondary educational institutions in an associate degree program or a career and technical education program in certain specified job fields and career pathways identified by the Board of Regents. And specifically, the Board of Regents is to work with the Department of Commerce and Kansas Business and Industry to identify up to 10 job fields and pathways that currently have the highest need for skilled employees, and then designate scholarship eligible career and technical programs and transfer education programs that correspond to those job fields and pathways that the Board of Regents and Secretary and Department of Commerce and Kansas Business and Industry working together have identified. Following completion of the scholarship program, the scholarship recipient is required to work in Kansas for 2 consecutive years. For purposes of this bill, an eligible post-secondary educational institution includes technical colleges, community colleges, 2-year associate degree programs, or career and technical education programs offered by private 4-year post-secondary educational institutions. And that is what the bill does.
The question for the reviser, Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charles, is there any specific date given as to how soon Regents and Commerce will come to that 10 person list or 10 category list?
Representative, with respect to that specific list, I'm not sure if there's a definite date. There are definite dates with respect to adopting rules and regulations. The Board of Regents has to do that on or before March 1st, 2022, with respect to setting up the program. There is a date of beginning January 22. The Board of Regents has to evaluate the scholarship program and prepare and submit a report to the standing committees on education and of the Senate and the House. But specifically with respect to that requirement, I don't see a specific date. I guess one would probably infer that with the other requirements, timeframes that are required for the Board of Regents, that, you know, the Board of Regents would need to do that within that general timeframe to be compliant in general with the bill.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like those other dates kind of back us into a date certain for that list to be made. So I'm happy with that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Highland with a question for the reviser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charles, did I read this correctly in that the Department of Commerce will work with industrial and they'll identify the top 10 fields, and those will be the only fields that will receive, that are eligible for the scholarship? Is that correct?
Representative Highland, I think that the Board of Regents does have to designate those 10 fields. I don't think the bill limits the Board of Regents to only those 10 fields. But I will take a look at it as the committee progresses here.
Yeah, so it was my understanding that the Department of Commerce would come up with the 10 with the regions, and those would be the only 10 that would qualify for the scholarship, because we have a limited amount of funds, limited amount of scholarships, and you want to make sure that they're very targeted to the needs of Kansas businesses.
Well, I thought that was the legislative intent, but reading it, I can't see that intent in writing. Let's put it.
Representative Dodson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Charles, I was trying to find in here, and I probably missed it, but how are these scholarships adjudicated? In other words, between institutions and then inside institutions? We have, whatever it is, 10 or $12 million to work with, but how is that allocated? Who decides?
So in general, administration of the program is performed by the Board of Regents, and they are responsible for setting up a long list of regulations to govern the program. You know, they're sort of they have oversight of the program. And so, you know, I'm not sure I can find a specific reference to the requirement that you mentioned, but you know, just in general, responsibility for the program lies with the Board of Regents.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the reviser? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, I move we,
Second, with a motion on HB 2287, Representative Long.
sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we pass HB 2287 out of committee, favorable for passage.
The second on it, Representative Dodson. Any discussion? Charles, you want to take a minute to see if we can get a more firm answer for Representative Highland? Hey, Charles, Representative Williams pointed out that on page 3, item number 6 might be what would limit them to the qualified program, the eligible career.
Yes, I think that that would do so. In addition, I've also would note that one of the responsibilities of the Board of Regents is to allocate funds to each eligible post-secondary educational institution for the purpose of awarding the scholarship. So I think that that's also addresses the other question on the Board of Regents' responsibilities.
Representative Highland, does that answer your question?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? Any amendments? Seeing none, Representative, you may close.
I close.
Committee, you've heard the motion to pass out favorably HB 2287, seconded by Representative Dodson. All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. Motion passes. Committee, I don't have anything else on the agenda. However, I would point out that next week, we're working on our agenda for next week, and our next week should be pretty busy with the Senate bills that came over. And from what I can tell, we should be very close to being done at the end of next week. We have a few meetings after that. We will start out with Representative Burrows, Tom Burrows, going through the Star Bond bill because he was involved in the initial Star Bond bill write-up, and he understands it better than anyone in the State House, in my opinion. And so he'll be reviewing the current program, the history of the program, and kind of go through the new bill. We plan to hear that bill on Tuesday, and then the other Senate bills that came over on Wednesday, and then work everything with the exception of Star Bonds on Thursday. That's the tentative agenda for next week. We're waiting for the Star Bond bill to be assigned to Commerce before we can actually submit it, so that we can pull it down and put it on the agenda. Seeing nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you.